Speaking and listening practice. Lesson 1, Visiting your home.
Hi Anna, how are you doing? I was thinking about stopping by your place this weekend. Would that be okay with you?
Hey John, I'm doing well, thanks for asking. And of course, you're always welcome to come over.
Great, thanks. I was hoping to explore your city a bit while I'm there. Do you have any recommendations for things to do?
Absolutely. There's a great park nearby with beautiful trails and a lake. And there are also some great restaurants and cafes in the downtown area.
That sounds perfect. And I could bring some board games or a deck of cards if you're up for it.
That would be fun. I have some games too, so we can have a game night.
Awesome. And if you don't mind, I'd love to cook us dinner one night.
That would be great. What were you thinking of making?
Maybe some pasta with a homemade sauce. And I could also bring some wine to pair with it.
Sounds delicious. And just so you know, I'm a vegetarian. But I'm sure we can come up with a tasty dish together.
No problem at all. I love experimenting with new recipes. And is there anything you don't eat besides meat?
Not really, but I do have a bit of a sweet tooth. So maybe we could also make a dessert together.
Sure, that sounds like a great idea. And if you're up for it, we could also go for a bike ride or a hike one day.
That would be awesome. I have some great trails in mind if you're up for a little adventure. Lesson 2, Renovating my kitchen.
Hey Anna, I've been thinking about renovating my kitchen. Do you have any experience with that sort of thing?
Hi John. Actually, I helped my sister renovate her kitchen last year. What are you thinking of doing?
Well, I'm thinking of replacing the cabinets and countertops and maybe adding some new appliances.
That sounds like a big project, but definitely doable. Have you thought about your budget?
Yeah, I've saved up some money for it, but I'm not sure how much it'll cost. Do you have any ballpark figures?
It really depends on the materials you use and the size of your kitchen. But I'd say you're looking at anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000.
Wow, that's more than I expected. But I guess it's worth it if it'll add value to my home.
Absolutely. And it's a good idea to invest in quality materials and appliances, so they'll last a long time.
That's a good point. Do you have any recommendations for contractors or designers?
Yeah, there are a few good ones in the area. But make sure to get a few quotes and check references before hiring anyone.
Thanks for the advice. And I was also thinking of maybe adding a small island in the middle of the kitchen. What do you think?
That could be a great idea. It would add some extra counter space and also serve as a focal point in the room. Just make sure to consider the layout and flow of the kitchen when planning the island.
Good point. And what about lighting? Do you have any recommendations for how to light the space?
Definitely. You'll want to make sure to have a mix of task lighting, like under cabinet lights, and ambient lighting, like a pendant light above the island. And make sure to choose bulbs with a warm, inviting color temperature. Lesson 3. Read the newspaper every day.
Hey Anna, do you still read the newspaper every day?
Hi John. Actually, I do. I love starting my day with a cup of coffee and the morning newspaper. How about you?
I used to, but I've been getting most of my news online lately. Do you think I'm missing out on anything?
Well, I think there's something to be said for holding a physical newspaper in your hands. And it can be a good way to discover articles and stories that you might not see online.
That's a good point. And I also like the idea of supporting local journalism.
Exactly. And there's something about the ritual of reading the newspaper that I find comforting and grounding.
I can definitely see that. And do you have any favorite sections or columns that you always make sure to read?
I love reading the opinion pages and editorial cartoons, as well as the local news and features sections. How about you?
I always make sure to check out the sports section, and I also like reading the business and technology news.
Those are all great sections. And I think it's important to have a well-rounded understanding of what's going on in the world.
Definitely. And do you have any recommendations for newspapers or news sources that I should check out?
Well, I think it's important to read from a variety of sources to get a balanced perspective. But some of my favorites are the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Guardian.
Those are all great sources. And do you have any tips for staying informed and engaged with the news?
I think it's important to find a routine that works for you, whether that's reading the newspaper with your morning coffee or setting aside time at night to catch up on the day's events. And it's also helpful to follow journalists and news organizations on social media to stay up to date on breaking news. Lesson 4. I forgot to drink my coffee this morning.
Hi Anna, how are you doing today?
Hey John, I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
I'm feeling a bit off actually. I forgot to drink my coffee this morning and I'm feeling pretty sluggish.
Oh no, that's the worst feeling. Do you want to grab a cup of coffee now?
That would be great, actually. Do you have any favorite coffee shops nearby?
Yeah, there's a great place just a few blocks away. They have really good lattes.
Perfect, that sounds just what I need. And do you have any tips for remembering to drink coffee in the morning?
Well, I always set my coffee maker to start brewing before I wake up, so the smell of coffee gets me out of bed. And I also keep a bag of coffee beans on my nightstand as a visual reminder.
Those are both great ideas. I might have to try that out. And do you think it's bad to rely on coffee to wake up in the morning?
I think it's okay in moderation. Coffee can be a good way to jumpstart your day, but it's important to listen to your body and not rely on it too heavily.
That makes sense. And speaking of coffee, have you ever tried any unusual coffee drinks or flavors?
Actually, I tried a lavender latte recently and it was really good. And I've also had a turmeric latte before, which was interesting.
Wow, I've never heard of those before. They sound really unique. And do you have any favorite coffee shops or cafes that you like to visit?
There's a great bakery nearby that has amazing coffee and pastries. And I also love going to this cozy little cafe downtown that has really good pour-over coffee. Lesson 5. Working on a project with a really tight schedule.
Hey Anna, I just found out that we have to work on a project with a really tight schedule. Are you up for the challenge?
Hey John, I'm always up for a challenge. What's the timeline we're working with?
We have to complete the project in just 2 weeks. It's going to be tough, but I think we can do it.
Wow, that is a tight deadline. But I agree, we can definitely do it if we work together and stay organized.
Exactly. And I was thinking maybe we could divide up the tasks and work on them separately to make things more efficient.
That's a great idea. And we should also make sure to communicate regularly and check in with each other on our progress.
Yes, definitely. And do you have any tips for staying focused and productive when working under pressure?
I think it's important to prioritize your tasks and make a schedule or to-do list to stay on track. And also take breaks and give yourself time to recharge so you don't burn out.
Those are great tips. And do you think it's better to work on a project like this in a group or individually?
I think it depends on the project and the individuals involved. But in this case, I think working in a group will be more efficient and effective.
I agree. And do you have any experience working on projects with tight deadlines like this before?
Yes, I have. I've worked on several projects with tight deadlines in the past. It can be stressful, but it's also a great opportunity to challenge yourself and grow as a professional.
That's a good point. And do you have any suggestions for how we can make the most of our limited time and resources?
Well, I think it's important to focus on the most important tasks first, and then work on the smaller details later if we have time. And also be open to feedback and willing to make adjustments along the way. Lesson 6. The challenging exam.
Hey Anna, how's it going? How did you find the exam?
Hey John. It was pretty challenging, to be honest. I wasn't expecting it to be that difficult.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I found some of the questions really tough too. How did you prepare for it?
I studied for weeks, but I still didn't feel completely prepared. What about you?
Same here. I spent a lot of time studying, but there were still some questions that I wasn't sure about. Did you find any particular part of the exam more difficult than the others?
I struggled with the essay question. It was a bit vague and I wasn't quite sure what the examiner was looking for. What about you?
Yeah, the essay question was tough for me too. I think it's because it required a lot of critical thinking and analysis, which I'm not naturally great at.
That's true. But hey, at least we gave it our best shot, right? That's all we can do.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe the examiner will be lenient and give us a few extra marks. Fingers crossed.
Ha, I hope so. But even if we don't get the results we want, we can always learn from our mistakes and do better next time.
Definitely. And it's not the end of the world if we don't pass. We can always try again and keep improving until we succeed.
Exactly. It's all about perseverance and resilience. And who knows, maybe we'll even surprise ourselves and do better than we thought.
That's the spirit. Let's just wait and see what happens, and in the meantime, let's celebrate the fact that we gave it our all.
Agreed. Let's go grab a drink and take our minds off the exam for a bit. Lesson 7. How about we grab a drink after work?
Hey Anna, how was your day at work?
It was pretty stressful, to be honest. I'm glad it's over.
Yeah, I hear you. I was swamped with meetings all day. But I have an idea to unwind. How about we grab a drink after work?
That sounds like a great idea. Where were you thinking of going?
There's a new bar that opened up down the street. I heard they have some really good cocktails.
That sounds perfect. What time were you thinking of going?
I was thinking of around 6 p.m. That way we can catch the happy hour specials.
Sounds good to me. I'll finish up my work and meet you there.
Great, see you there. Oh, and by the way, feel free to invite anyone else from the office who might want to join us.
Good idea. I'll see if anyone else is interested.
Awesome. I think it will be a good way to unwind and socialize after a long day at work.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to it already. It's always nice to have some good company and a drink to relax with.
Agreed. Plus, it's a good way to get to know our coworkers better outside of the office.
Absolutely. I think it's important to have a good work-life balance, and this is a perfect example of that. Let's go have some fun. Lesson 8, Importance of Work-Life Balance.
Hey Anna, I noticed that you've been working really long hours lately. How are you holding up?
To be honest, it's been pretty tough. I feel like I haven't had much time for anything outside of work.
I know what you mean. It's easy to get caught up in work and forget about the importance of work-life balance.
Yeah, it's like a never-ending cycle. But I've been trying to make a conscious effort to prioritize my personal life a bit more.
That's great to hear. I've been doing the same thing. I find that taking breaks and doing things I enjoy outside of work really helps me to recharge.
Definitely. And it's not just about taking breaks, it's also about setting boundaries and making sure that work doesn't take over your entire life.
Exactly. It's important to have a healthy balance between work and personal life, so that you can be happy, healthy, and productive in both areas.
Absolutely. And I think it's important for employers to recognize the importance of work-life balance as well, and to create a work culture that supports it.
I couldn't agree more. A company that values work-life balance is more likely to have happy and motivated employees, which in turn leads to better productivity and success.
That's so true. And as individuals, it's up to us to prioritize our own work-life balance and communicate our needs to our employers if necessary.
Yes, communication is key. If we don't speak up and let our employers know that we need a better work-life balance, they might not realize it's an issue.
Exactly. And it's not just about having more time off, it's also about having a job that is fulfilling and meaningful, so that work doesn't feel like a burden that we have to escape from.
Absolutely. It's all about finding a balance that works for us, and making sure that we are taking care of our physical, mental, and emotional well-being.
I couldn't agree more. Life is too short to spend all our time at work and neglect our personal lives. Let's make sure we prioritize our work-life balance and live life to the fullest. Lesson 9. Can I borrow your phone for a minute?
Hey Anna, can I borrow your phone for a minute? My phone just died and I need to make an important call.
Sure, no problem. But I have to warn you, my battery is pretty low too.
Oh no, really? What are we going to do if both our phones die?
I guess we'll just have to find a payphone or something. It's crazy how reliant we are on our cell phones these days.
I know, right? It's like we can't function without them. But it's also kind of liberating to disconnect from the constant notifications and distractions.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it's nice to just be present in the moment, without the constant urge to check our phones.
Definitely. And it's also a good reminder to always carry a portable charger or spare battery, just in case of emergencies like this.
That's a good point. I always forget to bring my portable charger with me, but I should really start making a habit of it.
Same here. It's just one of those things we don't think about until we really need it.
But I guess it's also a good opportunity to have a face-to-face conversation and interact with the people around us, instead of being glued to our screens all the time.
Absolutely. It's easy to forget how important social interaction is in our lives, and how much we can learn and gain from it.
And it's not just about social interaction, it's also about having the chance to be present and mindful in the moment. When we're constantly distracted by our phones, we can miss out on the beauty and richness of our surroundings.
You're absolutely right. It's important to be present and mindful in everything we do, whether it's talking to a friend or enjoying a beautiful view.
And who knows, maybe our phones dying is a sign that we need to take a break from technology and reconnect with the world around us. Lesson 10. Is your Wi-Fi working?
Hey Anna, is your Wi-Fi working? I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
No, mine isn't working either. It looks like the Wi-Fi is disconnected.
That's annoying. I was in the middle of an important project and now I can't access any of my files.
I know what you mean. I was planning on catching up on some work tonight, but now it looks like I'll have to find something else to do.
Yeah, it's frustrating when we rely so much on technology and it fails us. But maybe this is a sign that we need to take a break and do something offline for a change.
That's a good point. Sometimes we get so caught up in our screens that we forget about the other things we could be doing.
Exactly. Maybe we could go for a walk outside or read a book instead of staring at our computers.
That sounds like a great idea. It's important to take breaks and give our eyes and brains a rest from the constant screen time.
And who knows, maybe we'll come up with some new ideas or solutions to our problems when we're not glued to our screens.
That's true. It's amazing how much more creative and productive we can be when we're not distracted by technology.
Yeah, I think it's important to find a balance between technology and offline activities, so that we can be more present and mindful in our lives.
I couldn't agree more. And it's not just about balancing our personal lives, but also our work lives. Sometimes it's easy to get lost in the digital world and forget about the importance of face-to-face communication and collaboration.
Absolutely. And it's also important to remember that technology isn't infallible. We need to have backup plans and alternative ways of doing things, just in case something goes wrong.
That's a good point. It's always good to have a plan B. And in the meantime, let's take this opportunity to disconnect from technology and enjoy the simple things in life. Lesson 11. Face-to-face meeting with our clients.
Hey Anna, I just got an email from one of our clients requesting a face-to-face meeting. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. Sometimes it's better to meet with clients in person instead of just communicating through email or phone.
Yeah, I agree. It's easier to build a rapport and establish trust when you're meeting face to face.
Exactly. And it also allows us to get a better understanding of their needs and expectations, and to provide more personalized solutions.
That's a good point. Plus, it's always good to have a chance to showcase our products or services in person and answer any questions they may have.
Definitely. And it's not just about business, it's also about building relationships and showing that we care about their success.
That's so true. And a face-to-face meeting can also be a great opportunity to gather feedback and ideas for improvement.
Absolutely. And it's not just for our clients' benefit, it's also for ours. We can learn a lot from their experiences and insights.
Yes, and it's a great way to stay ahead of the competition and keep improving our products and services.
And let's not forget about the personal touch. A face-to-face meeting shows that we're willing to go the extra mile and that we value their business.
Exactly. It's all about building trust and creating long-lasting relationships, and a face-to-face meeting is a great way to do that.
And it's not just about impressing the client, it's also about making sure that we're meeting their needs and providing the best possible solutions.
Yes, and a face-to-face meeting allows us to be more proactive and responsive to their needs, instead of just reacting to their requests.
Absolutely. And it's also a good opportunity to network and build connections with other professionals in the industry. Lesson 12, Plans for the Summer Holiday with Your Kids.
Hey Anna, do you have any plans for the summer holiday with your kids?
Not yet, I've been trying to come up with some ideas. What about you?
I was thinking of taking them camping for a few days. It's a great way to disconnect from technology and enjoy nature.
That's a great idea. I was thinking of taking my kids to the beach. They love playing in the sand and swimming in the ocean.
Yeah, the beach is always a good option too. It's a great way to stay active and enjoy the sunshine.
And there are usually a lot of fun activities for kids at the beach, like beach volleyball and building sandcastles.
That's true. And there are also a lot of great local events and festivals during the summer that we can take our kids to.
That's a good point. It's important to find a balance between outdoor activities and cultural experiences, so that our kids can learn and grow in different ways.
Absolutely. And it's also important to find activities that are age appropriate and interesting to them, so that they can stay engaged and motivated.
And let's not forget about the importance of family time. Summer holiday is a great opportunity to spend quality time with our kids and create lasting memories.
Yes, and it's also a good time to teach them important life skills, like teamwork, communication, and problem solving.
Definitely. And it's also a good time to encourage them to try new things and step out of their comfort zones.
That's a great point. Whether it's trying a new sport or visiting a new place, summer holiday is a great time to explore and discover new things.
And it's not just about what we do, it's also about how we do it. Let's make sure we approach summer holiday with a positive and adventurous mindset, so that our kids can learn from our example. Lesson 13. What you would do in case of a fire.
Hey Anna, have you ever thought about what you would do in case of a fire?
Actually, I have. I think it's important to be prepared and know what to do in case of an emergency.
That's a good point. It's better to be safe than sorry. Do you have any safety precautions in place?
Yes, I have a fire extinguisher in my kitchen and smoke detectors throughout my house. What about you?
Same here. And I also make sure to check the batteries in my smoke detectors regularly.
That's a good reminder. It's important to make sure that our safety equipment is working properly.
Absolutely. And in case of a fire, it's important to have an escape plan and make sure everyone in the house knows what to do.
Yes, and it's important to practice the escape plan with your family so that everyone knows what to do in case of an emergency.
That's a great point. And it's also important to stay calm and not panic in case of a fire.
Definitely. Panic can make things worse and lead to poor decision making.
And it's important to know when to evacuate and when to stay put, depending on the situation.
Yes, and it's also important to have a designated meeting spot outside of the house so that everyone can be accounted for.
That's a good point. And in case of a fire, it's important to call the emergency services and report the situation as soon as possible.
Yes, that's crucial. And it's also important to avoid using elevators during a fire, and instead use the stairs to evacuate. Lesson 14. Strawberries are really good for your health.
Hey Anna, did you know that strawberries are really good for your health?
Really? I love strawberries, but I didn't know they had health benefits.
Yes, they're packed with vitamin C, fiber, and antioxidants, which can help boost your immune system and reduce inflammation in the body.
That's really interesting. I had no idea. And they're also low in calories, right?
Yes, that's right. They're a great option if you're trying to watch your weight.
And I've also heard that they can help improve your skin health and prevent wrinkles.
Yes, that's because they're rich in vitamin C, which helps promote collagen production in the skin.
That's impressive. And what about their effect on heart health?
Strawberries are also rich in flavonoids, which can help reduce the risk of heart disease by improving blood flow and reducing inflammation.
Wow, I had no idea strawberries had so many health benefits. And they're also really delicious.
Yes, they are. And they're versatile too. You can eat them fresh, in smoothies, or even in salads.
And they're in season during the summer, which makes them even more enjoyable to eat.
That's true. And it's a great time to experiment with different recipes and get creative with how you use them.
And let's not forget about the benefits of supporting local farmers by buying fresh strawberries from the farmers market. Lesson 15. This beach party is amazing.
Hey Anna, this beach party is amazing. What do you feel like doing?
I know, it's so much fun. I'm up for anything. What do you suggest?
How about we start with a game of beach volleyball? It's always a classic and a great way to get everyone involved.
That sounds like a great idea. And we can make teams and have a mini tournament.
Yes, that would be really fun. And after that, we could go for a swim in the ocean and cool off.
Definitely. And we could also rent some paddle boards or kayaks and explore the coast.
That's a great idea. And for those who don't want to do any physical activity, we could set up a beach tent and have a chill-out area.
Yes, that's a good point. And we could also bring some board games or card games to play while relaxing in the shade.
That's a great idea. And we could also have a barbecue and cook up some delicious food for everyone to enjoy.
Yes, let's not forget about the food. And we could also have some refreshing drinks like lemonade or fruit smoothies.
And for those who are feeling adventurous, we could rent some surfboards and catch some waves.
That's a great idea. And we could also have a bonfire at night and enjoy some s'mores and storytelling.
Yes, a bonfire is always a great way to end a beach party. And we could also bring some musical instruments and have a jam session.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And we could also watch the sunset and take some beautiful photos. Lesson 16. Use less one-time use dishes.
Hey Anna, have you ever thought about how much waste we produce with one-time use dishes and utensils?
Yes, it's a big problem. Those plastic plates, spoons, and forks are not only wasteful, but also harmful to the environment.
Exactly. That's why I've been trying to use less one-time use dishes and instead opt for reusable ones.
That's a great idea. And it's not just about the environment, it's also about saving money in the long run.
Yes, that's true. And it's also more convenient to have a set of reusable dishes and utensils that you can use over and over again.
Definitely. And it's also a good way to reduce our carbon footprint and contribute to a more sustainable future.
And it's not just about using reusable dishes at home, we can also bring our own reusable utensils and containers when we go out to eat or get takeout.
Yes, that's a good point. And many restaurants and cafes now offer discounts or incentives for bringing your own reusable containers.
That's true. And it's also important to remember that recycling is not the solution to the problem. It's better to reduce our waste in the first place.
Absolutely. And by using less one-time use dishes and utensils, we're taking a step in the right direction.
And for those times when we do need to use one-time use dishes or utensils, we should try to choose ones that are compostable or biodegradable.
Yes, that's a good point. And we should also try to buy products made from sustainable materials, like bamboo or recycled plastic.
And it's not just about using less one-time use dishes and utensils, we can also conserve water by washing our dishes efficiently and using a dishwasher when possible.
That's true. And we can also compost our food scraps to reduce waste and create nutrient-rich soil for our gardens. Lesson 17, Making a Commitment to a Charity Organization.
Hey Anna, have you ever thought about making a commitment to a charity organization?
Yes, I have. I think it's important to give back to the community and support causes that are important to us.
That's a great mindset to have. Have you found any organizations that you're interested in supporting?
Yes, I've been looking into local organizations that support education and literacy for children.
That's a great cause. And I've been looking into organizations that provide clean water and sanitation to communities in need.
That's really important work. And I think it's great that we can support different causes and come together to make a difference.
Absolutely. And it's not just about donating money, we can also volunteer our time and skills to help these organizations.
Yes, that's a good point. And we can also raise awareness about these causes and encourage others to support them as well.
And by making a commitment to a charity organization, we can create a sense of purpose and fulfillment in our lives.
Definitely. And it's a great way to connect with like-minded individuals and make new friends.
And it's important to choose an organization that aligns with our values and beliefs, so that we can feel good about the impact we're making.
Yes, that's crucial. And we should also do our research and make sure that the organization is reputable and transparent about how they use the funds and resources we donate.
Absolutely. Transparency and accountability are important factors to consider when choosing a charity organization to support.
And we should also think about the long-term commitment we're willing to make. It's important to choose an organization that we can support over time, not just a one-time donation. Lesson 18, I'm having a hard time getting this kid to listen to me.
Hey Anna, what's wrong? You look upset.
It's just that I'm having a hard time getting this kid to listen to me. I feel like I've tried everything and nothing seems to work.
That sounds frustrating. What have you tried so far?
I've tried being firm, using positive reinforcement, and even setting clear consequences for not listening.
It sounds like you've tried a lot of different approaches. Have you tried talking to the kid and asking them why they're not listening?
No, I haven't thought of that. Do you think that could work?
It's worth a try. Maybe there's something going on in their life that's making it difficult for them to focus and listen.
That's a good point. And maybe by talking to them, I can also show that I care about them and their well-being.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that every kid is different and what works for one may not work for another.
That's true. And I don't want to give up on this kid. I want to find a solution that works for both of us.
And sometimes, it's helpful to get the input of other adults who work with kids, like teachers or counselors.
Yes, that's a great idea. And maybe they can offer some insights or strategies that I haven't thought of.
And let's not forget about the power of positive reinforcement. When the kid does listen, make sure to praise and reward them for their good behavior.
Yes, that's a good point. And maybe by focusing on the positive behavior, the kid will be more motivated to listen and follow directions. Lesson 19, Bicycle Trip.
Hey Anna, have you ever been on a bicycle trip before?
Yes, I have. I love exploring new places on a bike.
That's great. Where is your favorite place to go on a bike trip?
I really enjoyed cycling around the countryside in France. The scenery was breathtaking.
That sounds amazing. And there are so many benefits to going on a bike trip, like getting exercise and being in nature.
Yes, that's true. And it's also a great way to connect with the local culture and meet new people.
And you don't need to be an expert cyclist to go on a bike trip. There are options for all skill levels.
That's a good point. And you can also rent a bike or join a guided tour if you don't have your own equipment.
And let's not forget about the importance of safety when cycling. It's important to wear a helmet and follow traffic rules.
Yes, safety should always be our top priority. And it's also important to bring plenty of water and snacks to stay hydrated and energized.
And we should also be mindful of the environment and avoid littering or damaging natural areas.
That's true. And we can also reduce our carbon footprint by choosing to cycle instead of driving a car.
And it's not just about going on a bike trip for leisure, we can also use bicycles as a mode of transportation for daily errands or commuting.
Yes, that's a great way to incorporate cycling into our daily lives and reduce our reliance on cars. Lesson 20. Have you ever been to Paris?
Hey Anna, have you ever been to Paris?
No, I haven't. but it's definitely on my bucket list of places to visit.
It's an amazing city. The food, architecture, and art are all incredible.
That sounds wonderful. What are some of the must-see attractions in Paris?
The Eiffel Tower is definitely a must-see. And the Louvre Museum has some of the most famous works of art in the world.
Wow, that sounds like an unforgettable experience. And what about the food? I've heard that French cuisine is amazing.
Yes, the food in Paris is amazing. From croissants and baguettes to escargot and coq au vin, there are so many delicious options.
That sounds fantastic. And what about the nightlife? Is there a lot to do in the evenings?
Absolutely. Paris has a vibrant nightlife with plenty of bars, clubs, and music venues to choose from.
That's great. And what about transportation? Is it easy to get around the city?
Yes, the public transportation system in Paris is very efficient and easy to use. And you can also rent bikes or take a walk to explore the city.
That's good to know. And what about the language barrier? Do you need to know French to get around?
It's always helpful to know some basic French phrases, but many people in Paris speak English and are happy to help tourists.
That's good to hear. Thank John. Lesson 21, Shopping for Winter Clothes.
Hey Anna, have you started thinking about shopping for winter clothes yet?
Yes, I have. I need to update my wardrobe for the colder weather.
That's a good idea. What are some of the items you're looking to buy?
I need a new winter coat, some warm sweaters, and some boots.
Those are all essential items for the winter. And have you thought about where you want to shop?
Not yet. Do you have any recommendations?
Well, there are many options, from department stores to online retailers. And it's always good to check out local boutiques for unique finds.
That's a good point. And what about staying within a budget? Do you have any tips for that?
Yes, it's important to set a budget and stick to it. And you can also look for sales and discounts to save money.
That's a good idea. And what about sustainability? Do you think it's important to consider when shopping for clothes?
Absolutely. Fast fashion has a big impact on the environment, so it's important to choose clothes made from sustainable materials and support brands that prioritize sustainability.
I agree. And are there any specific materials or brands you would recommend?
I would recommend looking for clothes made from organic cotton, recycled materials, or sustainable fabrics like bamboo. And there are many brands that prioritize sustainability, like Patagonia and Everlane.
That's good to know. Thank you, John. Lesson 22. Check-in process at the airport.
Hey Anna, have you ever had any trouble with the check-in process at the airport?
Yes, I have. It can be a bit confusing and stressful, especially if you're not familiar with the procedures.
That's true. But there are some things you can do to make the process smoother. Have you tried checking in online before arriving at the airport?
Yes, I have. It definitely saves time and can make the process less stressful.
That's a good point. And when you get to the airport, make sure you have all the necessary documents, like your passport and boarding pass, easily accessible.
That's true. And what about luggage? Do you have any tips for that?
Yes, make sure you check the weight and size restrictions for your luggage before arriving at the airport. And if you're bringing a carry-on, make sure it meets the airline's guidelines.
That's a good idea. And what about security? Do you think it's important to arrive early for that?
Absolutely. It's recommended to arrive at the airport at least 2 hours before your flight to allow enough time for security checks and any unexpected delays.
That's a good point. And what about liquids and electronics? Do you have any tips for packing those?
Yes, make sure you pack any liquids or gels in a clear plastic bag and follow the size restrictions. And for electronics, make sure they're easily accessible and remove them from your bag during security checks.
That's a good idea. And what about the boarding process? Do you have any tips for that?
Yes, pay attention to the boarding announcements and listen for your row or group number. And make sure you have your boarding pass and ID ready to show to the gate agent.
That's true. Thanks for your advice. Lesson 23. I heard that you're having trouble drying your clothes.
Hey Anna, I heard you say that you're having trouble drying your clothes. What seems to be the issue?
Yes, it seems like my clothes are taking forever to dry, and I don't know what to do about it.
That's frustrating. Have you checked the lint trap in your dryer? A clogged lint trap can cause clothes to take longer to dry.
That's a good point. I'll make sure to clean it out. But even when I hang my clothes to dry, they still take a long time.
Have you tried using a drying rack or hanging them outside on a sunny day? Those methods can be more efficient than air drying indoors.
I haven't tried that yet. I'll definitely give it a try. But what about when it's raining or too cold outside?
In that case, you can try using a dehumidifier to remove moisture from the air and speed up the drying process.
That's a good idea. And what about the type of fabric? Do you think that could be a factor?
Yes, some fabrics take longer to dry than others. Synthetic fabrics like polyester and nylon can take longer to dry than natural fabrics like cotton or wool.
That makes sense. And what about the amount of clothes you're trying to dry at once?
Overloading the dryer or hanging too many clothes on a drying rack can also slow down the drying process. It's important to give each item enough space to allow air circulation.
That's a good point. I'll make sure not to overload the dryer or drying rack. And what about the temperature setting on the dryer?
Some fabrics require a lower temperature setting to prevent shrinkage or damage. Make sure to check the care label on your clothes and adjust the temperature setting accordingly.
That's a good reminder. Thanks, John. Lesson 24. What we would do if we ran out of oil as a source of energy.
Hey Anna, have you ever thought about what we would do if we ran out of oil as a source of energy?
Yes, it's definitely something we should be thinking about. What do you think we could use as an alternative?
Well, there are many renewable energy sources, like solar, wind, and hydropower, that could be used to replace oil.
That's true. And what about nuclear energy? Do you think that could be a viable option?
Nuclear energy has its pros and cons, but it could be a viable option if we can address the safety and waste disposal concerns.
That's a good point. And what about biofuels? Do you think they could be a good alternative to oil?
Biofuels, like ethanol and biodiesel, can be a good alternative to oil because they are made from renewable resources. But we need to make sure that the production of biofuels doesn't compete with food production or cause deforestation.
That's a good point. And what about geothermal energy? Do you think that could be a viable option?
Geothermal energy, which comes from the heat of the earth, can be a viable option in areas with high geothermal activity. But it's not a widespread solution for the energy needs of the world.
That's true. And what about tidal energy? Do you think that could be a potential source of energy?
Yes, tidal energy, which comes from the movement of the tides, could be a potential source of energy in coastal areas. But it's still a developing technology and has some limitations.
That's interesting. And what about the cost of switching to renewable energy sources? Do you think it would be feasible for everyone?
It's true that there could be some initial costs associated with switching to renewable energy sources. But in the long run, it could be more cost-effective and sustainable than relying on finite resources like oil.
That's a good point. Lesson 25. I lost my wallet while I was out shopping.
Hey Anna, what's wrong? You seem upset.
I think I lost my wallet while I was out shopping. I can't seem to find it anywhere.
Oh no, that's terrible. Have you retraced your steps and checked with the stores you visited?
Yes, I have. But so far, no luck.
Have you canceled your credit cards and notified your bank?
Yes, I did that as soon as I realized my wallet was missing.
That's a good start. And have you filed a police report?
Not yet. But I was thinking about doing that if I don't find my wallet soon.
That's a good idea. And in the meantime, you should monitor your accounts and credit report to make sure there's no suspicious activity.
Yes, I've been doing that. But I still feel so frustrated and worried.
I can understand why. Losing your wallet can be a stressful and overwhelming experience. But try to stay calm and focus on taking the necessary steps to protect yourself.
That's true. And I also need to start thinking about replacing the contents of my wallet, like my ID and other important documents.
That's a good point. And it's also a good opportunity to reevaluate what you really need to carry in your wallet and what you can leave at home.
That's true. And I also want to be more careful in the future about keeping track of my belongings. Lesson 26. Which bus stop we need to get off.
Hey Anna, do you remember which bus stop we need to get off at to go to the supermarket?
I think it's the one after the park, but I'm not sure. Let me check the map.
Okay, sounds good. I don't want to miss the stop and have to walk too far.
According to the map, the bus stop we need is the one after the park, like I thought.
Great, thanks for checking. And do you remember which side of the street the supermarket is on?
I think it's on the left side of the street. But we can ask the bus driver to confirm.
That's a good idea. And what about the return bus? Which stop should we wait at?
We should wait at the same stop where we got off. That's where the return bus will stop.
Okay, that makes sense. And what if we miss the return bus? Do you know the schedule for the next one?
Yes, I have the schedule on my phone. The next bus should be in about 20 minutes.
That's good to know. And what about the frequency of the buses? Do they come every 20 minutes or so?
Yes, according to the schedule, the buses come every 15 to 20 minutes during the day.
That's good. And what about the cost of the bus ride? Do we need exact change or can we use a card?
We can use a card to pay for the bus ride. But if we don't have a card, we can also use cash. The fare is $2.50 per ride. Lesson 27. Backup plan for energy in case of a power outage.
Hey Anna, with the typhoon coming, have you thought about what we should do for a backup plan for energy in case of a power outage?
That's a good point. I think we should have some emergency supplies like flashlights and batteries on hand, just in case.
Yes, that's a good start. But what if the power outage lasts for a while? Do you have any ideas for a more long-term solution?
Well, we could consider getting a generator. That way, we can still have power for essentials like the fridge and freezer.
That's a good idea. And what about solar power? Do you think that could be a viable option?
Solar power could work, but it might be expensive to set up. However, it could be a good investment for the long term.
That's a good point. And what about a backup power bank for our phones and other devices?
Yes, that's a good idea too. We rely so much on our devices these days, so it's important to make sure we can still use them in the event of a power outage.
Exactly. And what about cooking? Do you have any ideas for how we can cook without electricity?
We could use a gas stove or a camping stove. Or we could also consider cooking with charcoal or wood if we have access to those resources.
That's a good suggestion. And what about staying warm if the power goes out in the colder months?
We could use blankets and layers to stay warm, but we could also consider getting a portable heater that runs on propane or kerosene.
That's a good idea. And what about water? Do you have any ideas for how we can access clean water in case of an emergency?
We should make sure to stock up on bottled water, but we could also consider getting a water filtration system or a water storage tank. Lesson 28, the most powerful person in the world.
Hey Anna, who do you think is the most powerful person in the world?
That's a good question. I think it's difficult to determine who the most powerful person is, as there are many individuals who hold significant influence and authority.
That's true. But if you had to pick someone, who would it be?
I don't know, maybe the President of the United States or the leader of China.
Those are definitely powerful positions, but what about people who hold significant economic power, like the CEOs of major corporations?
That's true. And let's not forget about influential figures in areas like media and technology, who have the power to shape public opinion and culture.
Yes, that's a good point. And what about the Pope, who holds significant religious influence and authority?
That's true. And there are also other leaders of religious organizations who hold significant power and influence.
Absolutely. And what about individuals who hold significant military power, like the heads of state of countries with large military forces?
Yes, military power is definitely a significant factor in determining who is the most powerful person in the world.
And what about individuals who hold significant social and cultural power, like celebrities and influencers?
That's true. And let's not forget about the power of ordinary people, who have the power to effect change through collective action and advocacy.
Yes, individuals and grassroots movements can definitely have a significant impact. And I think it's important to remember that power can take many forms and be held by many different people.
I agree. And it's also important to consider how power is used and whether it is being used for the greater good or for personal gain. Lesson 29, Government's Role in Supporting Those Living in Poverty.
Hey Anna, what do you think about the government's role in supporting those living in poverty?
I think it's important for the government to provide support for those in need, especially when it comes to basic necessities like food, shelter, and healthcare.
That's a good point. And what do you think about government programs like welfare and food stamps?
I think these programs can be effective in providing temporary relief for those in need, but they should also be accompanied by efforts to address the root causes of poverty.
Yes, addressing systemic issues like inequality and lack of access to education and job opportunities is crucial for creating long-term solutions.
Exactly. And I also think it's important for the government to work with other organizations and agencies to provide a comprehensive approach to poverty reduction.
Yes, collaboration between the government, nonprofits, and the private sector can be a powerful force for change. And what about international aid and support for poverty reduction in other countries?
I think it's important for the government to provide support for poverty reduction efforts globally, especially in developing countries where resources may be limited.
That's a good point. And what about the role of education in reducing poverty?
Education is crucial for breaking the cycle of poverty and providing people with the skills and knowledge they need to succeed.
Yes, investing in education and providing access to quality education for all can have a significant impact on poverty reduction. And what about access to healthcare and affordable housing?
Access to healthcare and affordable housing are also important factors in reducing poverty, as they can help people maintain their health and stability while they work towards improving their economic situation.
Yes, and it's important for the government to ensure that these basic needs are met for all members of society, regardless of income or social status.
I agree. And let's not forget about the importance of creating a supportive and inclusive social safety net for those who may be struggling to make ends meet. Lesson 30. Have you bought all the equipment we need for our camping trip?
Hey Anna, have you bought all the equipment we need for our camping trip this weekend?
Not yet, I still need to get a few things. What about you?
Same here. I think we need a tent, sleeping bags, a portable stove, and some cooking utensils.
Yes, and we also need some flashlights, a first aid kit, and maybe some insect repellent.
That's a good idea. And what about a cooler for storing food and drinks?
Yes, we definitely need a cooler. And we should also bring some water bottles and a water filtration system.
That's a good point. And what about camping chairs or a portable table?
We should bring at least a couple of camping chairs, and a small table would be nice too.
That sounds good. And what about warm clothing and gear in case the weather turns cold?
Yes, we should bring some extra layers and warm gear, just in case. And it's always better to be overprepared than underprepared.
Definitely. And what about hiking gear, like sturdy shoes and a backpack?
Yes, we should bring our hiking gear too. And we should also bring a map and a compass in case we get lost.
That's a good idea. And what about entertainment? Do we need to bring anything for downtime?
We could bring a deck of cards or some board games for entertainment, and maybe some books or a portable music player. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe our channel. Let's meet in our next video soon.